Dave wants 10 minutes, Carrie.
Oh, thank
Call
you.
the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the April 4th, 2023 Post Falls City Council meeting. Shannon, please note that all council members are present. Under announcements, ceremonies, appointments, we do have a couple of announcements. The annual Easter egg hunt extravaganza is this Saturday, April 8th at Camellan Park. This free event for children will be split into 5 age divisions from toddlers to 11 years old. The first age division begins at 1 p.m. Children must bring their own basket or bag to collect eggs. And then please note that the June 20th City Council meeting is being moved to June 15th, the prior week. Also, the July 4th City Council meeting is being moved to July 5th due to the holiday. So 2 changes in upcoming council meetings. Are there any amendments to the agenda tonight?
There are none tonight, sir.
Any declarations of conflict, ex parte communications?
Proclamation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have a proclamation, by golly.
Oh, there we go.
Fair Housing Month. Whereas April 2023 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as Federal Fair Housing Act. And whereas the Idaho Human Rights Commission Act has prohibited discrimination in housing since 1969. And whereas equal opportunity for all, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, or national origin, is a fundamental goal of our nation, state, and city. And equal access to housing is an important component of this goal, as fundamental as the right to equal education and employment. And housing is a critical component of family and community health and stability. And whereas housing choice impacts our children's access to education, our ability to seek and retain employment options, the cultural benefits we enjoy, the extent of our exposure to crime and drugs, and the quality of health care we receive in emergencies, and ongoing education, outreach, and monitoring are keys to raising awareness of fair housing principles, practices, rights, and responsibility, and not only through continued cooperation, commitment, and support of all Idahoans can and only through continued cooperation, commitment, and support of all Idahoans can barriers to fair housing be removed. Now therefore, I, Ronald G. Jacobson, Mayor of the City of Post Falls, do hereby proclaim April 2023 to be Fair Housing Month in the City of Post Falls. Thanks, Joe. Now, any conflicts? Seeing none, will you please present the consent calendar?
Item A is, March 21st, 2023, City Council meeting minutes. Item B is payables, March 14th through March 27th, 2023. Item C is request by the Parks Department to dispose of damaged and broken asset items. Item D is acceptance of property, sewer easement, Beck/Point Parkway. Item E is acceptance of property, sidewalk, utility, and drainage easement, lots 1 through 4 of Block 6, Riverbend Commerce Park, Phase 1. Item F is DBAT facility, reason decision file number ZC-22-6. Item G is Jacqueline Highway 41 project addendum 1 to the construction improvement agreement. Item H is vacation of easement, Beck and Point Parkway.
Any questions on the consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Tonight, there are no public hearings. Under unfinished business, returning ordinances and resolution, we have a resolution and 2 ordinances. The first is the fee schedule update.
I move to approve resolution fee schedule update and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And next is the first ordinance.
I move to place the ordinance adopt technical memorandum for interim update for development impact fees on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Roll call.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, Kootenai County, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, revising the Development Impact Fee Chapter of the Post Falls Municipal Code, amending Section 19.04.130 to adopt a new technical memorandum that includes an interim update to the development impact fees, providing that remaining sections of Post Falls City Code shall remain in effect, providing for severability, providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from and after its passage, approval, and publication according to law.
I move to approve the ordinance, adopt technical memorandum for interim update to development impact fees, and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is the fiscal year 23 budget amendment, number 2.
I move to place the ordinance FY23 budget amendment number 2 on its first and only reading by title only while under suspension of the rules.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Roll call, please.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Wilson.
An ordinance of the City of Post Falls, Idaho, amending the annual appropriation ordinance 1476 for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022, to reflect the receipt of unscheduled revenues and to authorize expenditure of previously unbudgeted fund balance, increasing and establishing these appropriations for expenditures in various departments and funds, providing that the tax levy upon taxable property within the city is not affected hereby, providing that all ordinances in conflict herewith are superseded by this ordinance to the extent of such conflict, providing that the ordinance shall be effective upon its publication date.
I move to approve the ordinance FY23 budget amendment number 2 and to direct the clerk to assign the appropriate number and that it be published by summary only.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Shannon, please take the roll.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda tonight is new business. The first is the Fisher Lift Station Replacement Engineering Report and Site Survey. Craig.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Craig Morpole, Utilities Manager for the city. And sometimes you have to hear it out loud before you realize where you made the mistake. We're not looking for a replacement engineering report. We're looking to replace the Fisher Lift Station. So introducing the topic to you guys this evening, talking about the initial component that I'm asking for authorization to sign and then what the future phases of the project would be. So for orientating everyone, Fisher Lift Station, not surprisingly, is on Fisher Road. It's, I think, our most northwest lift station, up there quite a bit. Zooming in, this is the intersection of Fisher and Howell, and you can see where the existing lift station is, parked in the backyard of 2 properties there. So the existing lift station was constructed in 2002. There's currently no on-site backup power. We do have the ability to hook up a portable backup generator, but it doesn't have existing on-site backup power. And it's a duplex station, which is a fancy way of saying there's 2 pumps. Within our 2019 master plan, replacement of this lift station was identified as Project P1.2, basically replacing this with a new regional lift station to accept flows from several basins. And this work was proposed within the 5-year improvement plan of the master plan. So this specific contract has 2 major components. One of them is site survey, which would allow for site selection of where a new lift station could be built, and surveying and legal descriptions to allow for purchase of land, and then also a preliminary engineering report. So this isn't the design drawings, but it's kind of the narrative that sets the design basis. It takes a look at our master plan, the assumptions in there, make sure nothing else has changed, no new flows, et cetera, so we know what we're designing the lift station to meet. Taking again a look at the area and getting to that site selection, you can see the existing site is pretty constrained. But there is some opportunity in the area, and we've had fruitful discussions with some landowners that there might be some land available that we would like to lock in. And that's really why I'm coming to you now with just the engineering report and the site survey. We want to make sure we know where we're going to site the lift station. That'll inform the design as well. So there's additional contracts, obviously, that'll be coming back to you. This is just kind of a smaller initial contract for the project. So the financials of this, again, it includes the site survey and the preliminary engineering report. That is $32,300. I have asked for a 15% contingency on this for a couple reasons. One, it's a smaller value contract, and two, anytime we get into surveying, you never know what you're going to find. So with authorization by the Public Works Director, up the percentage of contingency just in case we came into something for a total request of $37,145 and funded through the Fisher Lift Station upgrade budget. Next steps, if authorized, we'd like to pursue land acquisition and complete the engineering report in late spring. Land acquisition would also be a contract coming back to you. Engineering design in summer, bid and award in fall, and begin construction by next spring. So with that, I'd answer any questions on this.
Questions for Craig?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So land acquisition elsewhere? So what happens to that lift station?
That is a very good question. I will look into that and get back to you. I don't know if we have an existing easement or if we own that property. If there is an existing easement, typically those are vacated and go to the adjoining property owners.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't know the specifics, so let me research
Yeah,
that and
well,
let you know.
it's not urgent, I just thought if it was,
Yeah,
if
yep.
it was being replaced, those homeowners would probably like to have,
Exactly,
that
and
corner
and
of
where
their
the current
property.
site doesn't allow for a replacement right there, it would go back to that original agreement. I'm just not familiar with those details of what
and
it
obviously
says.
I'm not either,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Any other questions? Council, how'd you like to act?
I'd move to approve the Fisher Lift Station Replacement Engineering Report and Site Survey.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shove,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thanks, Craig. Next up is the consultant services for Black Bay Park Maintenance Yard Parking Lot.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Robbie Quinn, Parks Planner. Here tonight seeking your approval on the consultant services agreement with TO Engineers for a parking lot design at our Black Bay Park as well as the maintenance facility. So this is kind of going into two projects really, but because they're so close together, we kind of want to look at it from a holistic approach and design them so they integrate well with each other. So the first one, parking lot improvements were recommended in our adopted 2019 Black Bay Park Vision Plan. And so this drawing up here was the plan at that time, the concept that Civitas put together. And so really it looked at enhancing the park entrance, because this is kind of the first thing people see along 3rd Avenue, increasing parking, so potentially we're looking at adding about 55 stalls with this improvement, and as well as completing our street frontage improvements along the maintenance facility portion where those are still not fully completed. And then the second portion were updates recommended in the 2021 Post Falls Facility Needs Assessment that we did the last couple of years, where they recommended some kind of covered storage throughout our maintenance facility, additional fleet parking, fleet storage, and paving kind of the internal yard area, which is primarily gravel at this point. And so again, because these sites are so close together, you can see this would be kind of the Black Bay area up here, and then our existing fence line, and then the maintenance facility. There's so much paving that's going to happen in both these areas that we really need to look at it for the stormwater perspective to get everything to drain correctly, as well as elevations for curbs and our additional covered storage that we're looking to build later on this year. And so that's kind of why they're tied together as one project right now. And so again, the contract is with TO Engineers, who's done our, kind of our Black Bay Phase 1 design. They've done the survey of the park, and so they're real familiar with this site and already have the bases in CAD and all the survey information we need. And so the ask would be for $43,767, and that would be paid out of our existing general fund contract and professional services budget. So with that, any questions?
Questions for Robbie? You know, this, I remember going through the study on Black Bay, and it's, you know, it's slowly coming together, so.
Yeah,
Someday, hopefully, while we're still alive, we'll see it completed. But,
yeah, we're working on it.
yeah, I know you, I know you.
Hurry.
Council,
I'd move to approve the consultant services for Black Bay Park Maintenance Yard parking lot.
second. Motion second. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Shows,
Aye.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. And the last item under new business tonight is tertiary treatment upgrade, contract adjustment to the Wigen membrane filtration.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, Andrew Rubini, Projects Division Manager. That's a mouthful to say. There's a lot of big words. I get to present a change order this evening on the water reclamation facility project. This is the tertiary treatment improvements that are currently underway. Diving into the presentation, I'll start with a summary of the change order and the request this evening. Total cost is at the bottom, and I'll talk a little bit more about that soon, expand on how that number was derived and some additional information. Project outline, much like we've done previously for this project, give a little bit of background so the next couple slides will look familiar. Really keeping in mind the reason for the tertiary improvements and our overall goal of this project when we're complete. The change order itself, talk in more detail about the cost escalation specifically for the membrane filtration equipment, and then the staff's recommendation in moving forward in this approach with this change order and contract adjustment. So revisiting the project elements, this was mostly taken from the 2013 facility master plan. We are adding tertiary treatment to the plant. We're replacing aging infrastructure, specifically the UV disinfection system. And then at the same time, we're also making improvements and some capacity upgrades to the secondary treatment system. At the completion of this project, we will satisfy the permit compliance schedule that we have in place currently. We will also achieve addressing some additional capacity, which we will get out of our secondary system, including those improvements that we're doing currently. And by including all those project elements, we're able to maximize our long-term return on investment, and it also helps us avoid any duplicate upgrades in the near future. So in talking about membrane filtration equipment, I thought it'd be helpful to talk a little bit about the background for this equipment specifically and how this differs from some of the other cost escalation items we've had, not only on this project, but in general over the last couple of years. So during the design of the tertiary treatment project with JUB Engineers, the city contracted with Wigen Water Technologies. They are the supplier who are providing the membrane filtration equipment. That allowed us to design the facility mostly around the membrane treatment itself. That contract was then assigned to Sletton Construction following the construction award. So that occurred in 2020. Oops. Stay on the current slide here. So the assignment of the Wigen contract was then assigned to Sletton. Included in the contracts some language and some methodology for calculating any cost escalation specific for the membrane equipment. So I don't believe it's a surprise at this point, but we've seen a drastic increase to material costs, market goods and raw materials. As I mentioned previously, this agreement included a methodology which is based on the cost performance index. So in this case, it was calculated to be 5.7% CPI. And this is something that all parties, the supplier, the contractor, and the city have agreed on, that the methodology for calculating this cost increase and what this cost increase is. We have seen cost increases similar to that amount. In some cases, we've seen it much higher than that amount. So this provides some certainty in getting this amount calculated. Contractually, the assignment of costs are also defined. So based on the assignment of the contract, keep doing that, based on the assignment of the contract and when that occurred, and then notice to fabricate the equipment, that's defined as when those costs would, where those would be assigned. However, it's less clear. So that's, contractually speaking, it outlines that. This is an issue that we experienced almost overnight with the amount of cost escalation, and we just were not talking about it. So in talking with staff and in consultation with our legal staff, our approach and our rationale in this is that this is a cost that the city is responsible for in paying. It also is in line with our approach in being a fair business partner in our contracts. This approach also allows us to provide relief to the contractor and their supplier and some certainty as we're moving forward in the project. And it also gives us some finality on this issue as we've been working through this for some time, and it allows us to prioritize other higher priority items on the project currently. This is a picture of the equipment at the facility where it was created in Minnesota. This was taken this last summer. So the picture on the left, that is one membrane train. The second one's right behind it. We are installing 6 of those in the membrane filtration building. So also under construction, these 6 units will be installed soon, within the next several months. Financial summary. So this is more of a high level where we are with the overall contract value with Slutton. The contract award was $36.6 million. We did ask for a contingency of 5%. Council approved that in the amount of $1.8 million. This change order this evening represents the $190,000. That's the 5.7% of the membrane equipment contract value. Realize I didn't include that number, didn't want to make it confusing. That number is about $3.4 million. 5.7% is that $190,000. What I want to point out is overall, the unchanged contract value with that overall 5% contingency remains unchanged at 38.4. Currently, with this change order, we've expended about 60% of that contingency, so about 1.1 of that 1.8, and that does include this change order that we are recommending approval this evening. Reiterate what I just said, recommending that we move forward with the approval and that the mayor would sign the change order this evening. Next steps, so providing an update. The last time I was here, I think some other staff were here presenting on the overall update and where we are in the project. That was likely last fall, if I recall correctly. We are still working with the general contractor in finalizing the completion date, working through updates currently with Slutton Construction. We've continued to address supply chain issues, and for the most part, we've received a lot of certainty on materials that have been long lead items. We've also been able to find mitigation strategies for some items that are not improving and are not going to be delivered any earlier, but potential ways we can work around not having that piece of equipment on site that allows us to continue to start up systems. And then overall project update, we've been doing these about 3 to 4 times a year. We are due for another update. I anticipate that will coincide with some updates coming from the project schedule and then activities resuming on site. It's been a long, slow winter, and within the last couple weeks, work has picked up significantly on site. So hoping to bring something back for an overall update on where we are. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
Andrew, you stated that you're working with the contractor trying to arrive at an expected completion date, and we've expended 60% maybe of the contingency, I think you said. When do you, this has been a long process. For the cost of it, I understand why, but any ballpark idea, I'm not holding your feet to the fire, but when might this project be done?
So unofficially, we've worked through schedule revisions that are showing fall timeframe for completion. I can say currently, I was looking through our pay applications, we are about 80% of the contract value that we've paid. So 20% remaining in value of work. Sometimes that's skewed with the amount of work that's still remaining, and what we need at the end of the project is an operating facility. We are continuing to work through that with the contractor and have some recent information that we just have not had a chance to process. I anticipate in the next week or so we will know more than we know today.
Well, you folks have done a nice job in working with the contractor and the price increases, and again, I think you've done a very nice job. But I gotta tell you, we're gonna celebrate when the project's done.
Oh,
We have no more requests for cost increases because you can't help them, but it's gonna be nice when they're done. So thanks for your effort on that. Any other questions, Ben?
Well, I have a question. Is this the largest project dollar-wise for the city?
Biggest one I've ever signed.
Ever
I don't know
in the
about
history of
anybody
the
else.
city, so look at you. Yeah. No pressure.
I never thought there would come a point in my life where a 5.7% increase sounds reasonable, but you know,
Deal with it.
we've been seeing the CPI at 8 and 9+% over the last year and a half, and to get it at 5.7, it stinks. But and like you said, I think it's important to be fair with our vendors. We definitely don't want to get taken to the cleaners, but we don't want to put anybody out of business either. And so, if we're not able to navigate these waters with them, then that's probably what would happen. So it's crazy to think that 5.7 seems fair, but it does.
I
It's,
agree.
it's nice to have a framework when this
Right.
conversation comes up. You can say, well, let's look at the chart and have some basis for calculating this.
Well, again, thanks for your work on it. You need a motion from us, right?
Yes.
I'd move to approve the tertiary treatment upgrade contract adjustment to Wigen membrane filtration.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion. Roll call, please.
Borders,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Malloy,
Aye.
Ziegler,
Aye.
Thorson,
Aye.
Shows.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thanks. Thanks, Andrew. Next item on the agenda tonight is citizens' issue, and this section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address city council on a city-related item that is not on the agenda. Anybody wishing to testify? Come forward, please.
Well, we're not gonna have a timer, so it won't. Let me get rid of the error message.
Name for the record, please, and the timer's not working, but you get 5 minutes. 5, right?
Yeah.
Carrie Homan.
Thank you.
So I've never done this before. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was just told to come here to be a voice for kids. I live across the street from the skate park in Post Falls here, and I've lived at that house for 22 years, so I watched that park get built. And so I guess what I am looking for is some guidance, advice, and maybe what we could do next to help with some more supervision over there. Or possibly an indoor skate park where there is constant supervision, where so much stuff cannot go on. Fighting, drugs, a lot of stuff that happens every single day. Documented things that I have that obviously I don't have time to tell. But I went as far just for fun as a petition, just to see how many people would sign it, even kids. And in a matter of 5 minutes, I had 16 signatures, kids, teenagers, and adults. There was even a woman that was from the Spokane Valley that came over there with her children because her skate park over there was unsafe.
Oh, wow.
And she thought that this one was better. It was, but, you know, the bottom line is kids need a place to go, and there's not many places at all. There's a lot of outdoors. We're very thankful for that in Idaho. You can go hiking, you can go biking, but you're free to do that. And when you're 12, 13, 14, 15, and your parents are working full-time, and you're out of school, you have a lot of freedom. So a public skate park is great, but we should have an officer there. We should have something. You know, there's a lot going on. I could stand here forever and tell you guys a lot of stories. You know, it's sad. So I'm open to guidance, advice, suggestions. I am a teacher as well, so I am with kids every day. I'm a 3-year-old teacher, but let me tell you. So I love doing this stuff. It means a lot to me. So I don't know what we could do.
What I would suggest, first of all, you did fine. You said you hadn't
Yeah,
done this
you're good.
before. You did fine. Thank you very much.
Old pro.
Thank you very much. Captain,
I could talk easier to
Dave?
little.
so we've got Captain Brannell here. We've got Dave Fair, Park and Recreation. Could you get your contact information to them, or perhaps we can coordinate something, or at least they can sit down. They're the folks who would be able to address that for you.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Okay,
Can I ask her a question?
absolutely.
What time of day are you?
I actually wrote that down. It's funny. So usually, like today, I had to stop a fight from happening before I came here. So around 4:30 to 7:30 after school's out is when the most of the stuff happens. Spring break was fun, and then summer.
Okay.
You know, you usually don't have to worry about it in winter because, you know, again though, kids were talking about an indoor skate park. Something that they could do year-round, but where there was somebody there so that they didn't have to be scared, because when kids want to go board, most of the time that's what they want to do.
Yeah, so it's not late at night and,
Yeah.
Well, I think if you meet with our PD and with our Park and Recreation Department, the two of them can assist getting information, or at least maybe figure out a way to address it for you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So whatever's easiest for Captain or Dave to get her contact information, if you do that, please. Great, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Listening.
Anyone else? Administrative staff reports, do we have any?
We have none tonight, sir.
Okay. Mayor and council comments. I would just say that, I think it was interesting, I think it was last week, Shelley and I were talking about staff, talking about our planning department, and we talked about the nice job they've done for us. And we all saw the email, or if you haven't, you'll see an email where Laura Jones is leaving the city to pursue other interests. And I would like, from me and hopefully from the council as well, please let her know that we appreciated her time here. She did a fine job. Excuse me, she was knowledgeable. Well, she presented very well. Shelley and I were talking about it today, and you know, it's one of those things where you hate to lose a person like that, but it's kind of like you put on your parent pants, and when you raise your kids and you want to get them out the door and let them succeed, and you want them to take the step to better themselves. And from what Shelley said, this is a very good opportunity for more closely akin to the education she received. So please extend our thanks to her and our good wishes as well.
Definitely, thank you.
Anyone else? I'm gonna go one more then. I'll just do this publicly. We have staff that, mainly from the finance department, that mans the front desk in the rotunda and buzzes people through, lets them in. And they've always been, when I come in, they've always been extremely friendly. But since I've been on crutches, I mean, they pop up, they open the door. I mean, I feel like an old man, I really do. But I really appreciate,
Do you want me to tell him?
I am an old man. But if they, and I know that's the way they treat me, but I've seen them treat others the same way, so please extend my appreciation for the way they treat the people who come in. So, it's good staff.
Thank you. They were helping me with the dolly today, so maybe I'm an old woman too, so.
I'll let you know, Shelley.
Okay.
You're not there yet. You're not there yet.
And we do need an executive
We
session
do.
tonight.
I would move to enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-206 1C to acquire an interest in real property which is not owned by a public agency, and further that no action will be taken during this session, and that the session will last approximately 10 minutes.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion. Roll call, please.
Walker.
Aye.
Malloy.
Aye.
Ziegler.
Aye.
Thorson.
Aye.
Shove.
Aye.
Borders.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll enter into executive.
Okay.
Call the meeting back to order. Are there any motions to come forward?
Move to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Hallelujah.